Homes wanted to then have a freak off in the Hamptons, so they got a hotel and an escort.
Dozens that they have shown already, and they're trying to put that together. What we're still waiting to hear more from, including through the cross-examination, which they will definitely try to undermine, is to what extent Cassie herself was forced, coerced, threatened into sex trafficking, which must include her non-consent. She said she got stomped in the face on the floor of Diddy's Escalade for the duration of a ride home, and she claimed throughout their time together that she felt, well, powerless to make the choice to escape.
Hold on to your seats, because what just happened in Diddy's courtroom will shake you to your core. Things got downright explosive, and it all started when Cassie made her entrance. She wasn't just showing up, she was making a statement. Dressed in a long brown dress, belly visibly showing at 8 months pregnant, she didn't flinch, no glance toward Diddy, no smile, no hesitation. She walked straight to the stand like this was her destiny. And honestly, it felt like it was. Her voice, calm, steady, not a quiver, not a tear, but what she said, it was absolutely devastating. Cassie pulled no punches. She poured her truth onto that courtroom floor, and it was terrifying.
The jury had a whole night to process the disturbing details of these freak-offs that were laid out yesterday through the eyes of Cassie Ventura. The graphic details, the alleged abuse, the drug abuse. Today, they didn't have to use their imagination, though. It got real in that courtroom today when the jurors, not the public, not the press, when the jurors saw still screenshots from these freak-offs. There was something so uncomfortable about the moment. Watching the jurors see something so raw and so personal in a courtroom full of eyes and full of opinions.
Cassie didn't just accuse Diddy of hurting her. She laid out a nightmare. She said he beat her, drugged her, cut her off from everyone, and yes, even trafficked her. But it gets worse. Much worse. She testified that he filmed her while she was being intimate with other men. Men he allegedly hired. And it wasn't some rare incident. No, Cassie said it happened again and again, non-stop, in hotel rooms and even inside Diddy's own homes. She told the court how she stopped resisting, how she felt herself vanish. She didn't even feel human anymore, just property.
Testified about having to hide under a toilet to get away from Diddy. She revealed getting a gash by her eyebrow after he threw it into a bed frame in front of her friends. She said she got stomped in the face on the floor of Diddy's Escalade for the duration of a ride home. And she claimed throughout their time together that she felt, well, powerless to make the choice to escape. Now, to make her point, Cassie talked about going to a hotel when Diddy beat her after a party in Los Angeles.
Cassie said she had no friends left, no support system, nowhere safe to run. It was a trap.
She said she didn't want to stay, but felt she couldn't leave. She testified, quote, "It was not safe. I didn't have the resources I needed to get out and move, to get out and not have anybody stop me." You know, Cassie went on to say, I understood Sean's capabilities, his access to guns, and the threats that he made prior to that.
And then the blackmail came. Cassie revealed that Diddy warned her if she ever tried to leave him, those tapes would be her undoing. Her life would be over. That was his promise.
Cassie clarified her testimony from yesterday as well, saying that there were times that she did try to fight back or even initiated violence. She testified she did so earlier on in their relationship, but she quickly found out it could backfire, telling the prosecutors, quote, that it could escalate the fight more and make it worse for myself. When the prosecutor asked what she meant by that, Cassie said, quote, just make him more violent, make him stronger. Want to push me harder in that situation.
But just when we thought it couldn't get darker, in walked Daniel Phillip. He's one of the alleged escorts Diddy reportedly paid, and his testimony, chilling. He admitted that Diddy paid him thousands to sleep with Cassie while Diddy watched from a corner of the room.
She said that the escort was named Dave. She took the drug GHB and she went into a G-hole, which sounds like some type of blackout. She woke up and she was naked in the shower, and Dave and Sean were freaking out. I bugged out. It wasn't pretty, is what she said in the testimony. She said, then what? Ventura responded, I spoke to a friend of Sean's and then we had a freak off. And then they showed another photograph, and it shows her eyebrow that had healed up a little bit a week later, and she has a permanent scar on her eyebrow.
Daniel said Cassie looked frozen, like her soul had checked out, just going through the motions. And even though he got paid, he left feeling sick, like whatever just happened was so wrong. He also remembered another moment, one he can't forget. He heard loud banging, screams, chaos. Then the door opened. Cassie walked out, trembling, bruised, silent. She didn't even look at him, just walked past like she didn't exist. Like she didn't exist.
Cassie also described the leverage, that's the word she used, leverage Diddy had over her. She said that leverage came in the form of blackmail. Those videos specifically of the freak-offs. She testified that Diddy threatened to release them when he got angry. Cassie said, quote, "One time I dated someone else, and that is what it was all about. I'm going to put out 2 embarrassing videos of you. He just wanted to hurt me."
Now, Diddy's defense, they tried to twist the whole thing. They said Cassie stayed for the money, that she was an adult and could have walked away anytime she wanted, but the prosecution snapped back hard. They said trauma isn't logical, that control doesn't always come in the form of chains. Sometimes it comes dressed in designer. And love, it can be a mask for manipulation, the kind that slowly kills you from the inside out.
She said Sean accused her of taking drugs from his boat and threw her off of the boat, but her passport was still on the boat. She was on the red carpet for some type of event that night, and she said she attended the movie. They then went to New York. There was a commercial flight that they took. She traded her seat to get away, but he traded to get next to her. What did he show you? Freak-off videos. So we've heard about this, him showing videos and then using that as kind of blackmail material, if you will. She said that he played the freak-off videos for me on one of his laptops. He said he would release them. So that's some pretty compelling evidence.
And Diddy, while all of this was going down, he barely moved, arms folded, eyes locked on Cassie. Never blinking, he scribbled in his notebook now and then, but never once looked away. The silence in that courtroom when she stepped down, eerie. No whispers, no movement, just the sound of her heels clicking as she walked out. That girl was just 22 when he introduced her to what he called freak-offs. At first, it sounded like some twisted, kinky game. But that illusion vanished fast. It became a routine, something regular, something sinister. Cassie said it made her feel worthless, like trash.
Cassie can talk about and identify the sex workers that may have been involved, identify the locations, because again, in order for this to be a federal case, you've got to cross state lines. So if you have to establish that these activities happened in New York, happened in Miami, happened in California, that you were forcibly transferred or had to travel to each of these different locations. So the videos are going to be important from that perspective. But again, I don't think everybody's going to sit there and, watch, sex tape after sex tape after sex tape and watch Cassie be, basically brutalized 10 different ways from sunrise. I don't see that happening.
Before the world even got wind of this, Cassie said Diddy had rules, a checklist for her appearance. Her nails had to be either white or French tips. Her body tanned, waxed perfect. He'd make sly comments about getting implants, nitpicking her every curve, judging how she walked, talked, breathed. It wasn't about love, it was performance, a twisted, high-stakes act with her life on the line.
But I do see some snippets coming in. But I do gotta say one more thing, because my inner prosecutor wants to go after what Brad said.
Yeah, I had a feeling Melba was going to have something to say about what Bradford was saying. So go on, Melba.
Yeah. But most importantly,
I think that Melba's bringing the velvet hammer to you,
Oh,
Bradford. Not a
Melba's
velvet
great.
glove, a velvet hammer.
Melba's fantastic.
So go on,
She's
Melba.
always been fantastic. I welcome it.
Well, one thing I will say, first of all, is that sadly, I think all of us know people who have stayed in abusive relationships for a lifetime. And we know people that have died as a result of domestic violence.
The very first freak-off, right in Diddy's LA bedroom. Cassie didn't even know the other guy, just that he was paid to be there. She admitted she had taken something, had been drinking, just to calm her nerves. Diddy orchestrated the whole thing like a director, controlling the lighting, the outfits, even slathering on baby oil. Was made to wear wigs and masks like it was some deranged secret fantasy. Legal experts now say her testimony could wreck Diddy's chances in court.
That she and her girlfriends, they went to Prince's party. Yes, the musician Prince. Diddy was there. He didn't know she was going to be there. He got angry and she said, quote, "He beat me up." She said that after they broke up in 2018, that he raped her in her living room at her home. She also said that it wasn't just her, that one time he held one of her friends over the balcony on the 17th floor of her apartment in Los Angeles and hit another one of her friends with a wooden hanger.
And she lost that friendship. That was a best friend of 17 years she described, and then they don't communicate any longer. I'm curious to see how the prosecution might develop those connections a little bit more fulsomely.
Cassie said these freak-offs weren't rare, they happened weekly. Sometimes they went on for hours, multiple rounds, all night, and Diddy, he ran the show, start to finish. She confessed she used cocaine not to party, but just to survive. She didn't resist, not because she wanted it, but because she was terrified to make him angry. When he got mad, his eyes turned black, like something inside him switched off. She admitted the only part that even resembled affection was when she got one-on-one time with Diddy afterward. But even then, she felt like a ghost, like she wasn't really there, just a puppet, just a thing. She once tried to tell him how all of it made her feel. His answer? Cold, brutal. He called her predictable, like her pain was boring.
Of people, dozens that they have shown already, and they're trying to put that together. What we're still waiting to hear more from, including through the cross-examination, which they will definitely try to undermine, is to what extent Cassie herself was forced, coerced, threatened into sex trafficking, which must include her non-consent.
Combs' team will begin their cross-examination of Cassie Ventura tomorrow, which I'm sure she is dreading.
There was even an email. Did he ask her who you gonna wanna call someone, thinking she wanted to bring in more people? But Cassie, she just wanted him. Yet he made her dress up in masks, wigs, sky-high heels. Also, no one would recognize her. They pulled these stunts in New York, Miami, Vegas, even Turks and Caicos. Hotel staff would bring in baby oil and candles, sometimes up to 10 bottles a night. It was that wild, that often. And when she told the court how it made her feel, she finally broke. Through tears, she said she felt like an object, like that's all she was ever meant to be.
Take us inside the courtroom, Laura. What was Diddy Combs' demeanor while Cassie was testifying? Because I'm sure his attorneys told him to behave a certain way. Don't scowl at her, don't be angry. What did he do?
Oh, every defense counsel knows that every eye in that courtroom is on the defendant, trying to read every emotion, interpret every single look and glance. He kept his eyes trained on her throughout the testimony, often writing notes, however, to his counsel, leaning over, shifting in his seat, crossing and then recrossing his legs, and finally landing on a position where he held his hands, fingers intertwined on his lap before adjusting again.
She even described the rooms. They were like twisted sets, bathed in red, blue, purple lights, like music video sets, except this wasn't entertainment, it was torment. She said the rooms were hot, suffocating. She claimed they had to use extra linens to cover the hotel sheets because sometimes there was blood. Sometimes even urine. She was expected to keep going, even on her period. No breaks, no mercy.
This is the first time I was ever in an exotic bookstore with Puff. So, I'm giving him his space. He's taking things off the shelves and stuff like that, because they gave him a brown paper bag. When they gave him a brown paper bag, he was just putting stuff in there. So I said, damn, he got to go put it on the counter and, show everybody what he's getting. So as he's going, I'm just looking at the places where he's picking stuff from. So there's one part he picked up some things from up here on my left side. And then he picked quite a few of them down. I was like, okay. He put them in the bag. So when I went by there and I looked up there and it said butt plugs. And I was like, hey, yo.
And here's the part no one saw coming. Some wild rumors are swirling that Diddy's own mother might have known about or even been involved in these so-called freak-offs.
I think she just was enjoying the fruits of the labor.
But why you believe she knew about the freak-offs?
Because one of the witnesses said she was there. People have to take IVs. Remember the time that him and his mama kissed each other on the lips?
Yeah, I remember that video.
Do you remember that both of them was getting an IV at the same time?
Yeah, I did notice that, yep.
That's from the Diddy freak off party. And I'm gonna say allegedly.
But then came the most horrifying moment yet. Cassie said Diddy, along with another woman, urinated on her. She never asked for it, she didn't consent, but she was high, overwhelmed, and couldn't say no. At one point, she choked on it. The humiliation was unbearable. But Diddy, he enjoyed it.
So let me ask you this. You knowing her at one point, you knowing her personally, is she the kind of person that, you know, will be a part of a freak off or no?
I think that she liked to party, and she partied with young people. She's always been like that. She always copied or emulated Little Kim and Mary J. Blige, or they emulated her.
Cassie said it didn't happen every time, but it happened enough to leave a mark on her soul. She never screamed, never fought. Because in her mind, it should have been obvious she didn't want this. And when it was over, staff would come in and clean it up. The damage? Sometimes in the thousands.
He tried to bum rush me. I grabbed him and threw him against the piano. When I threw him into the piano, Puff and Ja Rule runs out the room. Puff got his towel, Ja grabbing his towel, but they butt the naked. And so then Ja was like, yo, what's going on? Yo, G, that's my cousin. He know me well, you know, and Puff was like, yo, G, what happened? I said, he tried to get in the room. I told him he couldn't get in the room. And he was like, Puff looked at Ja. He said, yo, Ja said, you ain't want to go in that room because there's a lot of freaking going on. So I was like, oh, he said it was a lot of freaking going on.
Cassie's not done. She's expected to continue her testimony for at least another day or two. But what she already said, it shook that courtroom to its core. For the first time ever, she faced Diddy, looked him in the eye, and told the whole world what really went on behind the money, the fame, the parties. It was gut-wrenching. It was raw. And we're only halfway through this storm. How do you think this trial will end? Because after this bombshell, there's no going back.